Hi, how are you?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
I'll
Oh,
jump straight in because I can't wait for this show to come out and for everyone to see it. What was it about, hearing Gremlins was coming back? What made you go, yes, I want to be part of this?
because very simply, when I was 10 years old, my parents took me to the cinema under the thin, or not even the thin guys, under the complete misunderstanding that they were taking me to a children's film. And I watched Gremlins in the cinema as a 10-year-old, just like this. It was one of the most visceral experiences of my life because I'd never seen a film that kind of juggled tonally so many things, including abject horror and kind of laugh out loud slapstick comedy. Because I was like, I don't even know what I'm watching, but I love it so much. And it's just one of those films, it's like Goonies and E.T. that just stays with you for the rest of your life. And so when they came and said, ironically, Amblin came and said, we're going to, make Gremlins. We'd like you to, that was all I need. I was like, yes, I'm in. I'll play Mogwai, I'll do whatever you want. And then when he said Riley Green, and I said, can I see an image of who Riley will be? And they showed me this picture, and I was like, oh yes, I'm more than 100% in.
So was it that the image was all you needed for this character, or did you get a bit more background and how did you react to that background of who he was going to be?
I've always, in the animated work that I have done, for me, my imagination tends to help me most. So I always ask for an image and kind of go from there because for some bizarre reason, I can just kind of, I don't know, wormhole my way in that way, but through visuals. Obviously, they told me who he was and, is this incredibly powerful industrialist with a God complex. And I was like, oh, you're speaking my language. This is gold. This is everything I've always wanted to be. I mean, play. So, it was just so much fun. It was unbridled fun because you're allowed to go into a booth, just put on the headphones and go as large, maniacal, and mental as you want.
So can you tease who Riley is? We know he is the big villain of the story, but can you tease who he is, what he wants, who he's working, who he has underneath him?
Yes, he's a very powerful industrialist with some very, I'm trying to word it carefully, with some very interesting powers of his own. And he is desperate to get his hands on the Mogwai, not just his hands, on the Mogwai for some very incredible reasons. And as a result of some unfortunate consequences, he has some gremlins beneath him that don't actually do what he wants them to do, and his life becomes incredibly difficult and just a little crazy from there on in, which only makes the journey of it all so much wilder.
So as a fan of Gremlins, I mean, we've got Joe Dante, who was consultant on it, and also Zach Galligan, Billy. What was it like for you to have these come in? Did you get to spend any time with them while you were doing all the voices?
Sadly, no. I was bubbled alone. I was shooting at the time, so it was kind of difficult for me to time out with everyone. So I was kind of, I did a lot of stuff alone, which was very sad for me because I thought I was going to meet some icons of my childhood. But just to see your name alongside those on the credits is it's still bewildering to me because, if you tell that 10-year-old boy in Wales when he saw Gremlins that, this is what he'd be doing in 30 years' time, I wouldn't have believed it.
I mean, that's like 30 years and
38.
finally.
Yeah.
So, but with Joe coming in, did that help you as a fan knowing this was that there was gonna be some continuity from all of that you loved? Did that help?
Absolutely, because the real worry is it's over. You kind of go, that's when the project merely is broached. I was really concerned. I was like, but what is this new, obviously there's a new generation of people who are ready for Gremlins, but what is it going to be? How is it, do you know what I mean? I had genuine concern. But as soon as I saw they were attached, you knew it has this strong umbilical to what I think, to what was this visceral experience to me and what I hoped it would be. So I think they've done on a great scale so many amazing things. They've really taken the kind of Chinese myth and legend on incredibly deftly, because it's all very well to be, let's be culturally accurate and rich, which is, yes, fantastic, but to weave that into entertainment can be at times very difficult and very challenging. So knowing they were going to do into that, knowing that, the old brigade were on board, you kind of knew it was going to be the perfect marriage. And to me, it proves it has been.
So, I mean, this project was announced, back in 2020, but I think it was 2019 when a lot of the initial work was being done. What's it been like for you having to keep quiet about all this? I mean, you have had a lot of other work to do in the process, but you know, the excitement for it, what was it like trying to hold back and not say anything?
It was hard, because I'll tell you why, because it's rare projects come along that you get excited for your kids to see. And I've learned from the past, from school ground gossip, if there's ever a secret to be kept, you can't tell the kids, which is fine, because it's their job to go, guess what I heard? Do you know what I mean? And what secrets have come out that way. So it's rare that there's a project like, the kids are going to love this. I can't wait for the kids to see it, but I can't tell them about it because you just don't trust them to shoot their mouths off in the class. So it's been hard. It was literally last night. We do this thing where my partner and I do this thing that I call the films that made us, where we show the kids films we saw when we were kids. So like Ghostbusters, E.T., Goonies, massive, and Goonies on the loop. They love And I've been waiting for this moment where I can show them Gremlins, because the youngest is 7, and I'm like, I don't think he's quite old enough. And, my partner's like, 7-year-old now is like a 12-year-old in the 80s, because their palates are a little more sophisticated. But I'm kind of, so I've almost got to a point now where I go, you know what? I think for the 7-year-old, I'm going to start him with this. I'm going to start him, it's a prequel after all. I'm going to start him with this animated version, and then I'll move him on to the films.
I mean, listen, you mentioned it is a prequel. Did that help sort of settle some of the nerves as well, in being that it didn't have to follow on what had already been told? It just had to stick to Gizmo's story, pretty much.
Exactly. In fact, when they said it was a prequel, I just went, "Oh, that's a brilliant idea," because it allows you that kind of rich cultural heritage to come forward also. I think, it was incredibly smart to make it a prequel.
So as my last question for you, is there anything in this that you cannot wait for, fans of the original movie to see? I mean, I know we have some of the original rules, but is there anything else that you can't wait? Teasing, not spoiling.
Yes. Yes, there's, God, I'm not even, am I even allowed to say that there's a fourth rule we're not allowed to talk about? I'm very excited. For those who are true fans of the original film, I'm very excited for that moment, which to me was like is when the original music is kind of teased into it. So I'm hoping people get a kick out of that.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I can't wait for people to see it, because it is brilliant. The screeners that I've seen are brilliant.
Good. Glad to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.